Once upon a time, there was a monk who lived in a small monastery on the outskirts of a bustling city. He lived a simple life, dedicating himself to meditation, contemplation, and service to others. The monk had few possessions, and yet he was happy and content. On the other side of the city, there was a rich man named James. James was the owner of a large corporation and had amassed a great fortune. He had everything that money could buy, but he was unhappy and unfulfilled. Despite all his wealth and possessions, he felt empty inside. One day, James happened to pass by the monastery where the monk lived. He was struck by the simplicity and tranquility of the place and decided to pay a visit to the monk. When he arrived, the monk greeted him warmly and invited him to sit down. James began to talk to the monk about his life and his struggles. He told him about his wealth, his possessions, and how he felt unfulfilled despite having everything that money could buy. The monk listened patiently and then replied, "James, it sounds like you have been looking for happiness in all the wrong places. You have been searching for fulfillment in material possessions, but true happiness comes from within." James was taken aback by the monk's words. He had never heard anyone speak like this before. He asked the monk how he could find happiness within himself. The monk replied, "Through meditation, contemplation, and service to others. By quieting your mind and looking inward, you can find the true source of happiness. And by helping others, you can experience the joy of making a difference in someone else's life." James was intrigued by the monk's words, and he decided to stay at the monastery for a while and learn more about this way of life. He began to meditate and contemplate every day, and he also started to help the monk with his daily tasks. As time went on, James began to feel a sense of peace and contentment that he had never experienced before. He realized that the monk was right, true happiness did come from within. And by helping others, he had discovered a sense of purpose that he had been missing all along. One day, James came to the monk and said, "I have learned so much from you, and I am grateful for everything you have taught me. But now, it is time for me to return to my life in the city." The monk smiled and said, "I understand. But remember, James, you can bring the peace and contentment you have found here with you wherever you go. And by living a life of service and compassion, you can make a difference in the world and find fulfillment in the process." James thanked the monk and left the monastery, but he never forgot the lessons he had learned there. He continued to meditate and contemplate every day, and he also began to use his wealth and influence to help others in need. Over time, James became known not only for his wealth but also for his kindness and compassion. He started a charitable foundation that helped people all over the world, and he spent his days working to make the world a better place. In the end, James realized that true happiness came not from material possessions but from living a life of service and compassion. And he knew that he had the monk to thank for showing him the way.